My name's Ros Parkinson. I lead our enterprise networks and lifecycle services research in Europe. So what my team do, we look at network infrastructure all the way from your data center, your WAN, your LAN access, edge, IoT networking, all of that. And we also look at the lifecycle services that support your network, all the way from consulting and integration through to management, maintenance, and the support services. So there are three things that I want to talk to you about today. First of all, why network transformation is a really critical part of digital transformation, particularly when you are trying to build your digital transformation strategies on a hybrid or multi-cloud environment. The second point is about how network technology is changing and how this is creating new possibilities and new opportunities for enterprises. And the last point is about how you can start building your network transformation roadmap. And what I want to make really clear right at the start is that this isn't a story about rip and replace your existing networks. There's a lot of exciting things happening in the network technology market that mean that you can have a more kind of manageable, sustainable roadmap going forward. So I'm going to start by talking just a little bit about digital transformation. I'm sure that this is something that everybody is dealing with at the moment. You know, our data shows that 63% of European CEOs are under considerable pressure now to deliver digital transformation strategies. This is truly a board issue, and we know why it is. It's because the pace of technology has accelerated so much in recent years, driven by hyperscalers, driven by companies that are born in the cloud. And if you can't innovate and create new services, create new experiences for your customers, you lose out to the competition. So you don't have a choice and you have to do this. And why is the network important? So what I have on this slide is a picture of what IDC calls the third platform and also innovation accelerators. So these are the technologies that are being used by enterprises to take forward their digital transformation journeys. It's things like cloud, social, big data, and mobility at the core, but we also have things there like AI, like blockchain, like IoT. And what these all have in common, you know, as some of the speakers have already commented upon, is that data is really at the heart of our digital transformation. And therefore, where you store, where you process and act upon that data, and the speed and the frequency at which you need to do that has an enormous impact on your network. And this slide is one of Carla's slides, actually. You might recognize it. So this shows the type of infrastructure where we are building these innovation accelerators on top of. So how are we supporting them? And although we can see that public cloud and private cloud, make up about a third, even going out to 2022. 2/3 is still traditional data centers. We're still building things on premise. On premise is still very important, even though we are experimenting more in cloud environments as well. And this creates a bit of a problem for the network because the networks that we currently have, they weren't built for this. They were built for the client-server era. They were built for users downloading information from your data center. If we fast forward to what we have now or where we're going, our networks just weren't built for this. So they weren't built to support massive IoT deployments or even edge analytics or, your workers who are in lots of different locations and are kind of trying to dial in from home and, they want to have this very collaborative, agile experience. And we don't have the network to support it at the moment. And the same thing, if we look to where the data center is now, you will have data or you will have applications running in public cloud, private cloud, probably a bit of on-prem as well. So it's quite complicated. And this is a snapshot of what our networks kind of look like now. So we have done the best that we could with what was available, but it is a bit messy. And you can see that we've got different types of networking technologies there, trying to kind of gaffer tape together this rapidly diversifying infrastructure that we're now using. And really, if we think about, not even where we want to go in the next 2 years, but 5 to 10 years, if we're talking about using AI and big data at scale, these networks just aren't going to be able to do that. So again, just taking this one step further, if we combine the distributed data, apps and infrastructure that we have, and we combine that with our outdated networks, we come across a number of problems. So firstly, it's a big headache to try and work out, okay, at what point did something go wrong? How can I fix it? It takes time to make that change. Also, if you have a more agile DevOps team who want to create new solutions and innovate very fast, they are going to be pretty annoyed with the networking people because they want to move fast and then the network is holding them down. So that costs you. It costs you in time lost to market with your new products. It costs you in terms of the teams that you have who are trying desperately to get this network to support, the new innovations that your business want to make. And then last but definitely not least, often because we have this quite fragmented network infrastructure that's holding us up, it means that the security posture is fragmented. So our security policies are fragmented as well, which obviously opens us up to vulnerabilities. So it's pretty clear that we need a new approach to networking. And the good news, there is good news. The good news is that we are moving in the right direction. There are big changes happening in the market, and I'm going to give you a few concrete examples. But first of all, the entire network market is changing at the moment, and it's a very exciting time to be involved in the market. A lot of this is to do with network virtualization and the disaggregation of software and hardware. We're seeing new networking startups come into the market who are being quite disruptive. They're able to work across any vendor, any switch, and optimize your network according to the needs of your business and trying to align the network to your business outcomes. This is creating a lot of change. There's lots of M&A going on at the moment. Juniper, who presented earlier, they recently closed an acquisition to acquire Mist, which is a wireless networking company that has strong AI capabilities, for example. So we can see that there's a lot of change happening, and they're not the only vendor out there who's making acquisitions and making changes to their portfolio. They're also making changes to their consumption models. So, it used to be very much the conversation was, oh, you're ready for a network refresh. Well, here's the bigger box, here you go. But now the conversations that I have with networking vendors are completely different. So it's no longer about feeds and speeds for your switches. It's about DevOps. It's about we're opening our APIs and we're trying to build a developer community to develop on top of our APIs to create this programmable network which will enable completely new services and new ways for the network to be consumed. So it's changing a lot and it's changing fast. We're very much in the early stages, but here are a few concrete examples of what we're seeing. So the first big trend is around software-defined networking. And as you can see from our survey data, enterprises are really eager to adopt software-defined networking across their entire, network portfolio. So your WAN, your data center, campus, and branch as well. And if we do a double click on that and take a look at SD-WAN, which was mentioned earlier. So SD-WAN is a market that we are seeing really rapid growth, really high interest in EMEA. So for anyone who's not familiar with SD-WAN, it's a transport agnostic, application-centric networking solution. Basically, if you have an SD-WAN router in your branch, it can decide which type of network it's going to run data or run a workload across. So it might still use MPLS, or it might enable a public internet breakout closer to your branch. And SD-WAN's quite interesting because, a couple of years ago when it was first coming out and we were first hearing about these startups working in SD-WAN, people were excited because they thought, oh, this is going to save me a lot of money. I don't need my MPLS anymore. This is fantastic. But actually what we see happening and what people talk about now is the simplicity that it gives them. They don't have to worry about, how to configure their network. The SD-WAN, kind of looks after a lot of things for them. And another really helpful thing is that you can set policies remotely across, all of your branches in one go. So if we think back to that picture I showed you of the very complicated networks we have at the moment, if you think about trying to, optimize them for a new application, or you need to apply a new security policy, that was a very time-intensive process. But now you can do it remotely across all of your branches in one go. So SD-WAN, as I said, really high growth market, and we see people adopting SD-WAN as their first step towards this, broader, longer-term vision of a, automated, software-defined network that is really aligned to your business goals. And I mentioned AI earlier. I wanted to just come back to this because AI, and particularly machine learning on the network, we expect to have just an enormous impact. And we're already seeing vendors not only making acquisitions, but building AI capabilities in-house. If you think about, that picture of, if you think about the number of devices we're going to have, if you think about the amount of data that we want to be able to use, and we want to be able to use this in a multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, very diversified infrastructure, you can't do that if you're relying on teams of people. You need to make this more autonomous, and AI and machine learning is the way that we're going to do that. So, we're seeing lots of vendors invest and start talking about AI and how they're going to integrate into that into their networks. So, I've told you all the exciting things. What should you do now? So, in terms of thinking about your roadmap, for digital transformation and network transformation. So the first point, and it's the first point because it's the most important point, and I cannot stress it enough, is make network transformation a key part of your digital transformation strategy. If you don't have the right network, which will be supporting your infrastructure, particularly, in this multi-cloud, hybrid cloud world that we are all in, and we are going to continue to be in, then your digital transformation initiatives just will not deliver the results that you want, because they're all about data. So you need to have the right network to support them. And I emphasize this so much because I have so many conversations with people who say, oh, yeah, we didn't think about the network, or, oh, yeah, but our network will be fine. And then they deploy something and it isn't. And they could have really made their lives easier. And I think that the second point, as that relates to it, we have new technologies now which are changing the way that the network works. It's making vendors change their business models as well, and their consumption models. So they are having to become more software centric, perhaps even moving to subscription models. So some of the old headaches with buying hardware are going away. So you should really be talking to network providers about how they can support you and how they can, support your vision for digital transformation. And the third point is around, choosing a network provider who has a clear vision for the future of networking. So if we take SD-WAN as an example, I think in EMEA there are maybe 15 or 16 vendors that I know of who are saying, we sell SD-WAN. But if I talk to them, I find out that, it's kind of like when you go to the ice cream van and they have, lots of different types of SD-WAN, and it's going to be different flavors. So understanding, what works for you is a challenge, and there'll be some vendors out there who want to sell you the product based upon, okay, this is going to save you money in the short term. And then there are going to be some vendors who can say to you, okay, this is what we have now in terms of SD-WAN, but we can help you build a roadmap, and we can help you take that SD-WAN, and then, I'm now hearing vendors talk about SD-LAN, so, having cloud managed wireless networks, for example, and being able to give you that flexibility and agility now, but to be a partner with you for your digital transformation journey, because it's going to be an ongoing journey. It's going to be an iterative process. You're not going to get there overnight. And then the last piece of advice is really to just start experimenting, start running proof of concepts, see what some of these technologies can do for you, and yeah, start growing. And again, if I take the example of SD-WAN, the companies that I've spoken to who are the most optimistic about this are the ones that have partnered with somebody who can, not just give them SD-WAN, but then think about what would an SD branch look like, and expand that experience out to other areas of their network. So that's all I wanted to share with you, short and sweet. Thank you so much for your time, and please, feel free to have a chat with me during lunch. I'll be really pleased to speak with you.